It's a very warm welcome back to Matchbook's Weekend Football Podcast, joined as ever by Mr. Adrian Clarke, top right of your screen, and a guy who's been in red-hot form with his European selections to start the season, both on this podcast and on insights.matchbook.com, is Mr. Mark O'Haire. And let's do a very quick recap of last week's wins, guys. Premier League, we've been struggling prior to the international break to get some of these right, but last week, you guys absolutely knocked it out of the park. First up on Saturday, Palace plus a quarter of a goal. Of course, you could have backed Palace nearly 3-1 or 4.0 at Matchbook.com to win that game. We were a small bit more conservative. 1.72, we took Palace plus 3/4 of a goal. Even if it was a draw, we would have won that bet anyway. We also had under 2.5 goals in that game, Adrian Clarke. And that was a tough enough win. I mean, any other day of the week, you would back that one again. But AC, you also had Liverpool as your best bet, so good weekend in the Premier League.
It was, definitely a good weekend all round. A couple of my EFL selections let the side down last week, but in general it was fantastic. And I just had a really strong fancy for Liverpool. The game turned out exactly as we discussed on the show. And as for Palace, I mean, it was a battery. It was an absolute battery of Spurs. And my only regret is that we didn't either take a shorter handicap or back them on the nose. But we took the conservative route. It won easily. We got to be pleased.
Yeah, and hopefully somebody took the more aggressive approach possibly in that Palace there. Mark O'Haire, your pick on Bayern 2.32. That obviously closed a lot shorter. Now we were concerned on Thursday morning that there was a lot of those Bayern injuries. They cleared up pretty much on Friday in the market move. Great win, 4-1 against Leipzig, but that Atletico win, let's be honest about it, was a bit luckier. Thomas Lemar, the 99th minute, with a late winner there, but you were definitely on the right side of it there, man.
Yeah. What a game that was. Atleti were absolutely diabolical in the first 45 minutes, and Diego Simeone reacted pretty fiercely at half-time with a number of changes, and by an hour he pretty much used all his subs, fielded pretty much every attacking player he had on his bench on the field, and it was coming. In fairness, it's always nice to pinch a late winner, but they did absolutely dominate that second half, and you always felt that as soon as the board went up for 10 minutes stoppage time, you always felt the winner was potentially going to be there, and Lamar capped a fantastic second half performance with the winning goal too. So got out of jail, but I feel like we've had a few sort of obviously Palace the day before with the under 2.5 goals going against us, and felt like we earned it.
Goes with you sometime. He had a great performance there. He was chucked off after 36 odd minutes or something last night against Porto. That'll happen with Thomas Lemar every now and again. All of these picks in general, guys, if you're kind of watching the show, and we obviously rattled through a fair few of them. If you want to recap or refresher, check out insights.matchbook.com. About 2 or 3 hours post-recording, all those selections will be up there. You'll also find Adrian's extra EFL selections, and Mark is already up on Thursday morning with a couple more selections from the continent. All right, we're going to keep this top heavy this week. On Sunday, guys, Tottenham Chelsea is the first game want to look at. Mark, start with you here first for this one. Let's take a look at the betting as we have it at matchbook.com. You can back the Spurs at 4.8. Chelsea, our beloved Chelsea, who always seem to make us money, guys, as well last week, 1.84. The draw available at 3.85. Tottenham getting a half a goal start in the Asian handicap at 2.12. And 2.5 is the total, slightly shaded towards the under there at 1.8. Mark, Chelsea again this week, surely for us, right? Gotta be.
I'm just going to take back one of your statements there. They're not our beloved Chelsea at all.
Sorry, my apologies. My beloved Chelsea. Because I
will never have my name banded to that sort of comment ever again, but there we go.
Apologies. But my views only. Apologies.
Yeah, thank you. Look, I don't think this is majorly controversial, but I don't think Chelsea have returned from the international break playing very well at all. The Aston Villa game definitely wasn't a 3-0 scoreline in sort of how the pattern of play were. I thought Chelsea were quite sloppy, and Villa were given a few clear-cut opportunities and weren't able to take them, but they still got the job done. And I guess that's what happens when you got someone like Romelu Lukaku up front for you this season compared to last year. And in a midweek against Zenit, again, the bigger picture is they won without conceding, but I wasn't massively impressed. They only had 11 shots, 2 on-target attempts, didn't create a clear-cut opportunity, and they actually lost the XG battle against both Zenit and Aston Villa at Stamford Bridge, which is really quite surprising. I wouldn't say it's too concerning because they've got such a squad and such a shrewd manager. They'll work themselves out. But, I don't think it's going to have too much bearing because I think they'll be bang at it for this game, playing against Spurs, obviously capital rivals. always keen to put on a decent show. And it wasn't so long ago we saw them go to Anfield and put on a really fierce performance with 10 men and deservedly pick up a share of the spoils. So I've actually got them pretty average in terms of most of my sort of season-long ratings. I know it's very early days, but they haven't really been absolutely dominant as we probably expected them to be. But I do think this is a good opportunity for them to put on a bit of a show, because Spurs, likewise, I haven't been too impressed by. Fortunate against City on the opening day, weren't exactly dominant against Wolves or Watford. Actually lost the XG battle in both of those games. And you look at their open play numbers, they're below par. And then you look at the game against Palace, which was a bit of a perfect storm for Palace. They only had 2 shots, Spurs, in that whole game, just one from inside the penalty area. Really horrible stuff. I know there's caveats with Sanchez and Romero being out and Dyer going off injured early doors and Son missing too, but they've still got the squad and players on that pitch to perform better than what they did. So injury team news, Tanganga now suspended. I believe Romero and Sanchez will be available. Still not sure on Son or Dyer. They didn't travel in the Europa League this midweek. So, and Son, if he is missing, is a massive blow for how Nuno will like to play and like his team to set up in this kind of game as an underdog, playing in transitions and counter-attacks. And also Spurs have to go to France to play Rennes in the Europa Conference League on Thursday. I know there'll be changes, but just a lack of rest and recuperation and preparation against the Chelsea team, who have clearly had an extra day to recover and prepare for this game. So, I do like Chelsea. They've won this game 4 of the last 5 head-to-heads. They were a bigger price at Arsenal a few weeks back. So, I don't think there's a huge amount of value in backing them, but I still think, if you can have a bet on this game, Chelsea are the most likely winners, just to squeeze a bit more out of the price. So, again, go back to our favourite of chucking in under 3.5 goals. It's about 2.48 at Matchbook right now. And the under 3.5 goals has landed in 33 of the last 35 across all competitions under Tuchel. So, pretty strong stuff.
Yeah, love that bet. I think, as everyone knows, I play that bet a lot, and we played it again last week, even with that late Lukaku goal. We were close, we were comfortable enough. Adrian, you were happy to post Tottenham last week, or bang on the money there again this week?
Yeah, I can't support Spurs here. I mean, the XG in that particular game was 0.07 to 3. I mean, that was as comprehensive as you get. It was abysmal, really, from Spurs, who were lucky, I think, to get through those first 3 matches with 1-0 wins. Their XG against is over 7, but they've only let in 3. So that tells its own story, I think. And with Mark on Chelsea, they haven't blown us away, have they? The last couple of games, they're definitely not creating as many chances as you would expect. But my logic here is similar to where Mark's coming from. Is that Tuchel will see that and will know that, would I expect Chelsea to have 3 average performances in a row? No, I wouldn't. I think those 2 are done, and there will be a bounce back here, and they'll be really at it against Spurs. And look, I saw them in the flesh at Emirates. They were outstanding, and I think if they bring that sort of form to this game, they'll win. They'll win comfortably. I can't really add too much more beyond what Mark has said. My selection would be Chelsea on the nose at 1.84, but I do like Chelsea and under 3.5. Why wouldn't you? When those kind of numbers stack up. So maybe that should be our selection here, because it's landed on so many occasions. I wouldn't see them thrashing Spurs, but I see a professional 1 or 2-0 win.
All right, the question must be asked. So, are we going to be a bit greedier and take that one, or are we going to take Chelsea at 1.84? You guys lead me.
I'd be greedier this time, because I just think tactically how Tottenham are going to set up here lends itself to a lower scoring game. However, the caveat being Thursday, we don't know if Son is available or not. And if he does pass the fitness test, or he is potentially in the squad, then suddenly that gives Spurs a bit of an edge in those transitions. But I think right now I'm happy to take the bigger price. 6-4. It's not bad, is it, for something that's landed pretty much in every Chelsea win under Tuchel bar 1?
Yeah. No, I'm happy with that.
Great. Yeah. Okay. Chelsea to win on 3.5. That's like a 2 greedy, 2.48. Yeah, I like it. You know what? They haven't blown teams away. They've only conceded 1 goal to a penalty at Liverpool. They're just very efficient. And hopefully more the same on Sunday afternoon at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. All right, West Ham, Manchester United. Earlier game on Sunday is what we're going to look at here. Let's bring up the betting as we have it currently at matchbook.com. Adrian, I will start with you first for this one, but let's take a look at the betting. You have the Hammers here 4.4, Manchester United 1.85, the draw available at 4.0, West Ham getting a half a goal start to 2.1, and it's a high goal line. It's not that surprising. Obviously, West Ham, very high scoring team outside of both the Manchester clubs. They're the third highest scorers in the league this year. 2.75, shaded to over at 1.86. Adrian, I suppose let's start with Manchester United, and it's hard not to kind of look at this game in Burn during the week. You know, obviously you need to come away from that, but even the performance against Newcastle last week, I think it's slightly flatter than the 4-1. Newcastle were well in that game, and again, we go back to this whole thing, the holding midfielders, and they just seem like a team that's top heavy here. But will they have enough on Sunday against West Ham?
Yeah, possibly. Yeah, they're definitely not the perfect team. They're definitely struggling a little bit in central midfield. For the game against Young Boys, I mean, it was dreadful, but it was on an artificial surface. The winning goal did come from a shocking individual error from Jesse Lingard, and they were down to 10 men. So even though it was a very poor performance, I would expect some kind of bounce back there. Ronaldo, you can't look beyond what he did against Newcastle. I mean, he had the highest XG of an individual player of any Manchester United man since 2019. When Marcus Rashford had a higher XG, he had 1.4 XG. So, like, Manchester United have played a stack of games between 2019 and now. No individual has had as many chances as he received in that game. 6 shots from inside the penalty box. He's just got that nose for it, and his intuition is special, and that definitely gives Manchester United the edge. I also think stylistically, he surprised a few people by how often he linked play. And the way he drops in as a sort of false 9 at times allows your Sanchos and your Greenwoods to run in beyond into goal scoring positions. So I think he's a good fit. I really do. And Bruno Fernandes is in great form as well, of course. So that's, Manchester United. They score a lot of goals. They've got, they haven't got the best record in this particular fixture. They've been beaten a few times at London Stadium, but last season they won. One on the comeback trail, I think 3 second half goals. I think the reason I would massively steer towards United here is because of West Ham's situation. No Antonio through suspension. That's a hammer blow. For one, excuse the pun. That is a hammer blow to them. Who's going to play up front? Probably Jared Bowen. I think that makes a difference. They've also never had to cope with the Thursday night game and the Sunday kickoff, and of course they're in Zagreb, so it's that's going to be a tough game for them. So there'll be a bit of fatigue there, and what will Moyes do in terms of Zuma? Does he come in, or will he be made to wait? Obviously they've got quite a settled unit, so I think there are reasons to oppose West Ham here. Under Moyes, the new way is to go toe to toe rather than to sort of keep the score down. That should make for a great game. So for me, a really entertaining one, end to end, but Manchester United prevail. So my pick would be United and over 2.5 goals, which is at another lovely price, 2.64 the last time I looked. So I can certainly see both teams scoring here.
Mark, I think you're in agreement on the general goals, that there could be goals in East London, but I don't think you're as much enamoured with United in this spot as Aidan, or am I wrong?
No, I think the match odds are perfectly fine and reasonable. I don't really have a major disagreement with them for all the reasons that Adrian suggested. West Ham missing their key player, West Ham being in Croatia on Thursday night. But I'm hopeful that they can come out and give United a game. As Adrian said, they've got a decent record in this fixture. I don't think they'll be put off by United coming there with all their stars and stuff. You look at United's performance so far this season, drawing 1-1 away at Southampton, they weren't, to me, very impressive. They might have created a few first half opportunities, but Saints were the team who were going to win that game in the second half. Beat Wolves 1-0, definitely didn't deserve to win that match. And then the Young Boys game as well, where I'm glad Adrian kind of took the lead there, because I could have gone on for ages putting the boot in, because it was laughable, really.
You still can though. Work away.
You know what? I can't be bothered. We've done it so many times, and you can compare United to Chelsea and what Chelsea did with Frank Lampard, a club legend who steered the ship, did plenty of positive things like Solskjaer's done at United, but they ditched him for an upgrade and an elite coach, and we saw the turnaround. United haven't done that, so how they can consider themselves as realistic silverware winners with Solskjaer in charge when going down to 10 men away at young boys just absolutely messes the bed by putting 3 at the back and basically just ceding possession. Absolutely laughable, really. I found it.
He had a shock. Solskjaer had a shocker.
And just on that, right? You're absolutely spot on. I know we've been look, there's been a few people said that we're a bit anti-Manchester United on this podcast, right? But if you role reversal on Tuesday night, if that's Chelsea, and I hate to go back to Chelsea, we're going about Tuchel or whatever, but if that's a manager, even with 10 men, they might concede the 1 goal, but they don't concede the second. And I know it was a slot pass, but even aside from that, they were just dominated. And look at Chelsea a couple of weeks ago, very similar situation, very similar time at Anfield, and they just looked a better team in the second half. And that's management, that's coaching, that's nous, that's cleverness, and United don't have that with Solskjaer. Let's call it. You're right, Mark. He's done a terrific job to bring them where he has, but he's not going to bring them to the next level, in my opinion. I think you're in agreement on that.
Yeah, for sure. And he is always the concern for me when backing United. But their away record in the Premier League stands up to time. They've got a great opportunity to get a result in this game. I do fancy West Ham to cause them problems, though. I know Antonio won't give them that physical presence. However, United do have sort of Harry Maguire playing there, who kind of relishes those physical battles. I don't know how well he'll cope with the likes of Fornals, Benrahma, Bowen, who are trickier kind of players. Nikola Vlasic as well, who has yet to really sort of make a major impact at West Ham, but comes with a really promising reputation after a great couple of years in Russia. Souček as well, breaking from midfield, a threat from set pieces.
Set pieces. United, whenever Paul Pogba's asked to mark a set piece, you fear for United, don't you? He's just terrible at it. But they've got Varane now, and Ronaldo's height as well probably will help them. But West Ham, look, they definitely will pose a set piece threat, no doubt.
Yeah, and I think they'll score. I think West Ham will score, and for that reason, I like the overs. The market's already shifted way towards over 2.5, so over 2 3/4 is the next sort of level we can back at a backable price of 186. It doesn't ring off the sheet for me, but I'm happy to kind of go with Adrian in this sense, because the price is big enough. If there is going to be 3 or more goals, the likelihood is United do win it based off all the factors opposing West Ham this weekend.
Adrian, what price was that? Sorry, I don't have the extra.
I had a 2.64 United and over 2.5. But look, over 3/4, over 2 3/4 is certainly backable as well.
Yeah, over Man United to win and over 2.5 is 2.64, and like the guys said, they're over 2 3/4 is about 1.88 at Matchbook.com currently. All right, we had our little kind of thing about them, but we still kind of actually fancy them to win the game, and that's the good thing. Look, it's impartiality all the way. We do have our opinions of them, but we're quite happy to be with them in the right spot. And this could be the right spot for them, albeit obviously with West Ham's injuries. Mark, your game of choice this week is the other game, third and final game on Sunday. And you got to sneaker there. It's a tough card this weekend. I don't know if we're going to be hitting out an 80% or 100% rate on the Premier League this weekend. But let's take a look at the betting currently as we have it for the Amex on Sunday. Brighton, you come back at 2.78. Leicester, slight underdogs here, 2.86. Well, I'm kind of slightly surprised. I thought might be more close to pick up. The draw available 3.25. Brighton, slight favourite here. The draw no bet market, which appears as 0.0 at Matchbook.com, and it's a low enough total at 2.25. Mark, Brighton have been pretty impressive this year. You could argue that even last year they probably were more impressive. They just didn't get the results. But can they make it a tough one? Obviously, they're favourites here, so the market is predicting that they could win this. But this does strike me as going to be a tight and turgid affair.
Yeah, really difficult card this weekend. But I thought this was an interesting game because of Brighton and their progress, underperforming XG, as we all know, last year, but going pretty well this year, despite kind of pretty mediocre underlying numbers. Whereas Leicester, top 4, should have been in the bank last season, didn't land it, won the FA Cup. But this season, by the eye test and by the numbers, they've been pretty poor, in fact. And they're playing Napoli on Thursday night, which is a big game on paper. I'd like to know how strong Rodgers goes in that games before really sort of taking this game properly seriously. But for me, I think they got a little bit found out at times last season. They tried to change tact after the new year, and that was with Iheanacho partnering Vardy up front, and it worked really well. They seem to have gone back to their old plan with playing Vardy on his own up front. He looks isolated. Maddison's been out of form. I want to see more of Daka. I want to see Barnes playing back to his best again. So no, they're not short of firepower, but creatively they've been pretty mundane, and they've comfortably lost the XG battle in all 4 of their games. Barely gave City any problems last week at the KP, which is a match they traditionally relish. And I've got them bottom 3 for a whole range of stats, including expected points, non-penalty XG, big chances. So, yeah, I wouldn't be too surprised if Brighton got something out of this game. They lost to Leicester here 2-1 in March, but went off at 2.52 without fans. Now they're trading at 2.78. So that's a decent difference, and really only really lost Ben White, isn't it? So I thought Brighton plus a quarter was possibly backable if it was above 1.7. But yeah, this is going to be a difficult game to decipher, and I think opposing goals could be the way to go here. The goal expectancy for the match is 2.4. 3 of Brighton's 4 games have gone under. The Burnley game was heading that way on the opening day until sort of those late turnaround. 62% of Brighton's games at home last year went under. And yeah, I think the draw is a big runner as well. Clearly, when the goal expectancy is low, and as we see, it's almost a pick 'em in this match. Sometimes the best bet is just to take the biggest price of the 3 and take the draw. But yeah, I've kind of reluctantly gone under 2.5, but I think the draw might now be my favoured option.
Adrian, what are you thinking of this one?
Yeah, it's hard. Yeah, I'm sort of almost scratching my head as to why Mark picked this one, because it's so tricky to decipher. And what I will say, I'm a fan of the history books, and Leicester have a very good record against Brighton. They've won 7, drawn 2, and lost none of their last 9, which might or might not count for anything. The reason I would maybe side with Leicester here is twofold. Johnny Evans is back. Bertrand is back. And they didn't disgrace themselves against Manchester City. I think that their defence will now be significantly better than we saw in the early games. So that's a definite plus. I also think that they have to improve going forward. And this might be a game to do it. I think we could see Iheanacho and Vardy reunited. If I was a Foxes fan, I would definitely be hoping that would be the case this weekend. And I fancy them to have more joy, not because Brighton are poor at the back, because they're very good at the back. They keep teams at arm's length exceptionally well. But we saw against Everton, they were quite vulnerable to fast breaks and transitions. They struggled to live with Everton in that department, and that's what Leicester are all about at times, and I can see them causing similar problems. On Brighton, they've had a very easy start. I think we shouldn't look past that. They've beaten Burnley, so one-dimensional. They've beaten Watford. Most teams will beat Watford, I think, at home, and Brentford. Obviously, and that was very unconvincing. It was a particularly even game. They were maybe fortunate to win. The only half decent team they faced was Everton, and they were dispatched quite comfortably. Are Leicester better than Everton? I think they could be. Not on current form, but they're not too far off. Also, stylistically, not that dissimilar currently in the way that Everton are trying to play. So yeah, for me, I think Leicester might nick a close game. So my pick would be Leicester draw no bet, because I think it's a reasonable price. Evens really 1.98 the last time I looked. So yeah, if you get the draw, it's the money back, and if they win, you're back in Leicester at even money. So that's where I would go. But I can absolutely see the goals angle too, because you wouldn't imagine there'll be a hatful here.
It's one of those games that we could easily plug both of those in, because if it is a draw and you're getting 3.25, we make money anyway, because the price is 2.0 and Adrian has drifted slightly, so you're getting a bit of extra value, a tick or two there. Yeah, let's do that. I mean, it's hard to see this either of these teams kind of pulling away anyway, and probably and as Mark's made a good point, in a low scoring game, the bigger price here in the 1x2 at 3.25, which is 94 fractions, not a bad look.
You watch Brighton win it now. Yeah, Brighton will win this one 3-2. And,
everybody underwater. Yeah. Anyone with 2 unders. All right, let's take a quick break, guys, just before we get to the Burnley game, just to get you guys have a drink of water, and I'll tell people about the sign-up offer that we have at Matchbook.com currently. It's a pretty decent one. It's bet 10, get 15. When you're signing up, you can check out the full terms and conditions at insights.matchbook.com. But if you use the Insights code and use it Insights15 when signing up, Insights15, bet 10, get 15 to avail of that offer. And like I said, full terms and conditions of that offer are available at insights.matchbook.com. And please do gamble responsibly at all times. Adrian, of course, your choice this week is Burnley and Arsenal. Let's take a look at the betting as we have it currently at matchbook.com. You can back Burnley here at 3.9, Arsenal at 2.08, the draw available at 3.55. Burnley getting a half a goal start on the Asian handicap of 1.87. The total is 2.5 at 1.81 shaded towards the under. Adrian, I suppose, look, Arsenal needed that win in a big way last week against Norwich. It's been a poor start for Burnley, though, this season, hasn't it? You know, there wasn't much sign of life there. But what are you making of this one as a contest? Yeah,
look, it's a very interesting game. We'll find out a lot more about Arsenal and where they're at after this game, because Mikel Arteta was quite bullish about the work he'd done on the training ground. Described it as, you know, the best sort of 10 to 15 days he's had in football. I didn't think it was a spectacular performance from Arsenal. It was good. They had 30 shots on goal, which shouldn't be sniffed at, you know, even though they were playing against Norwich. But the football wasn't great. I think all of really the moves, the combination play wasn't there really. It was all about quick, fast, incisive, transitional attacks, quite direct at times, knocking the ball over the top for Aubameyang. So I think Arsenal are a work in progress. What was noticeable is the defence was improved with White and Gabriel, and they looked good together. And Tomiyasu at right back was nice and solid as well. So yeah, it was good from Arsenal without sort of blowing anyone away. But Burnley would test them, won't they? Because of the physicality, the set pieces. Arsenal have looked very shaky from dead ball situations since they've come back from pre-season. Aaron Ramsdale might help in that regard. Now that he's in the team, he's maybe a little bit more confident and decisive. But Burnley would definitely be eyeing up those opportunities. Look, Arsenal have a very good record at Turf Moor. Not lost there since 1973, which is quite a long time ago. So Arsenal backable at the price, I would suggest, if you were to sort of ignore the form book. What I'll say is that Burnley, of course, Arsenal problems in recent meetings. They've won 1 and drawn 2 of the last 3. So they've caused 1 or 2 issues. They've scored in 5 of their last 6 games against Arsenal as well. So up against a new look defence that is sort of finding its way, I can see Burnley scoring here. But I have been unimpressed by them as a whole. They were so vulnerable, weren't they, during that Everton purple patch on Monday night? They were just scythed through all the time. Leeds did it. And of course, we know that Burnley have got a very poor home record. So again, I would fancy Arsenal to get on the score sheet once or twice at least in this game. So my angle, even though I fancy Arsenal at the price, I don't know if I can fully trust them yet. So both teams to score would be my choice here. I think that Arsenal can win this one 2-1, 3-1. And the price is not bad for both teams to score 1.92, I think, around that. So yeah, that's my selection.
I'm not trying to turn you off that, but Arsenal's team total, which you can back as well at matchbook.com, is 2.14 to get 2 goals, so it's over 1.5. Would that be one that interested, just generally taking the sense where you're discussing there? Yeah,
it would interest me, but it eliminates the 1-1 draw, which is eminently possible. I think that's what happened last time. I think I would stick with both teams to score as a safer pick, to be perfectly honest. Look, let's face it, Arsenal have only scored once this season, so backing them to score 2, don't feel quite ready to do that yet.
Yeah, I hear you. Mark, I don't know if you have a major lean, if any, here, but anything to add to what Adrian had?
No major opinion on the match, in all honesty. I thought Arsenal did all right against Norwich. Aubameyang scoring will help him and help the team at least going forward. Thomas Partey coming off the bench, he's available now, which is big. But this really is the kind of crucial week for Arsenal going forward. These are the opportunities they have after no European commitments. So we have to see the work on the training paddock paying off at the weekend. Otherwise, the regression in the last couple of years is worthless, because these are the opportunities you have to improve, which they wouldn't normally have, because they'd be going away on a Thursday night to Eastern Europe potentially for Europa League time. But they've had a couple of awkward trips to Turf Moor in the last couple of seasons, 2 draws. They actually went off at 1.78 in March there. So you could make a case to say there is a value bet there in Arsenal, but I'm the same. I'm not yet at the trusting stage. I think it's a watching brief. Despite Burnley's poor form at home, 4 home wins, I think, since the start of last season, and 1 in their last 14 at Turf Moor. I actually have them being slightly better than their points tally has been. I'm not quite sure how they've come out that well, despite I've not been too impressed when I've seen them at first hand either. So, it's just a leave alone for me.
All right, both teams to score, currently available at 1.92 is Adrian's selection there. Don't forget, before we just move on to the latter stages of this, insights.matchbook.com, full recap, about 2 or 3 hours post-recording. They'll be up there throughout the weekend, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, if you want to get a quick recap and see how the market is forming or how the market has reacted. Adrian, one of your top EFL selections this week, Fulham Reading over 2.5. It's actually, you quoted 1.75 earlier with me. It's actually drifted slightly to 1.77, so you're getting a small bit extra juice. You're back. Look, both of these teams, you had them in different selections. You had Reading on Insights over 2.5 in QPR. That was an easy win. And then you had Fulham on this pod at -1. Blackpool.
Let me down. Yeah, I got stung by them. Look, there's a caveat there. And maybe I should have considered it, but Marco Silva stitched me, basically. He played a couple of the guys that had been in Honduras just a few days earlier. They were jet lagged. They were knackered. I didn't know at the time that Harry Wilson was out, that Carvalho was out. It was a great time to play Fulham. We saw the real Fulham this week, didn't we, in the midweek, when they battered a good Birmingham team 4-1. So, I picked the wrong game to back Fulham there. I'm not going to back them outright here, even though I think they'll win the game. They are a team that are full of goals, Fulham. They really are. Mitrovic is in a rich vein of form. In their last home game, they battered Stoke 3-0, and Stoke are very good, much, much better than Reading. So I could potentially see a really handsome win for Fulham, but Reading always have a goal in them. As we talked about in my Insights column last weekend, John Swift is maybe the division's most informed player, keeps sticking him in the top corner, and they do create and score. They're just absolutely atrocious at the back, Reading at the moment. And if you're atrocious at the back and you're up against Fulham right now, you're in trouble, I think. Every Reading match has gone over 2.5 goals. Their matches alone, standalone, average 4.29 goals a game. No clean sheet. Both teams have scored in all but one game. I could trip off, a load more stats. Fulham are averaging 2.43 goals a game. So look, lots of reasons here, I think, to back over 2.5 goals. It might be on the drift, but I'm certainly in favour of it.
Yeah, and to be fair, I don't think it's drifting that much. I wouldn't take any notice of that actually at the moment. Celtic, north of the border, Mark. You're sensing a bit of a revival at Parkhead, and you're backing them -3/4 a goal at 1.73 away at Livingston on Sunday.
Yeah, so the opening show for this game had Celtic at 1.8 on Saturday, which was an absolutely staggering price, which is unsurprisingly all gone, but there's still plenty of value in Celtic to go to Livingston and get a win, despite that, as the market still starts to contract and is still trying to correct itself, really. I mean, Celtic were in crisis not so long ago, and they're certainly not out of it, but I think the work that Ange Postecoglou's done since he's come in is starting to bear fruit, and he's quite bold, he's quite brash, he's very brave. I think the appointment was very brave by the Celtic board to bring him in, but he's done some great things in Asia and Australia. He's quite a cool character. He's got some nice ideas, about how he wants to play football, very expansive, very attack-minded. And Celtic have responded to those ideas very well, despite the opening day defeats. They since have won 6-0 twice, won 3-0 once, and were the better team in the Old Firm derby, despite losing that match. Now they're going to Livingston, who are bottom of the league, have lost some key players in the summer. Plenty of Scottish judges who I know have tipped them for relegation this season. They've taken 1 point from 5 games and scored just twice. Rangers demolished them 3-0 in the opening day at Ibrox. Livingston are bottom for expected points, bottom for non-penalty XG ratio. So basically the results are matching what you're seeing with your eyes. They have regressed significantly. And interestingly, just going back to that price on Celtic, over the past 3 seasons, Rangers and Celtic have combined to go there 7 times, and the average price of the Old Firm teams has come in at 1.35 to win away at Livingston, and the Asian handicap line has been set at 1.25 in 6 of those 7 games. So for whatever reason, the market's not showing a huge amount of respect to Celtic right now. I know they're going to Betis in the Europa League on Thursday night, which will be a distraction, but at the end of the day, they're playing the team bottom of the league. I expect them to win the game, and if they do win, we make profit regardless. So to me, it's a bit of a no-brainer.
Yeah, the American Mail Outlet caught up with them this week, but they might be catching up the next couple of weeks. Adrian Clarke, League 2. Your next bet. Quarter of a goal. Yep.
Yeah, look, Mansfield, we saw Nottingham Forest change their manager earlier this morning. Chris Hughton and Nigel Clough, obviously Forest legend, he's under big pressure at Mansfield. Spent a lot of money again this summer, but they've 5 straight defeats in all competitions. They haven't got a clean sheet yet. They've got the second worst defensive record in League 2, and they've got injuries and suspensions in terms of their defensive players. So they've got, defenders are out, and Stephen Quinn, I don't know if you saw this, he got sent off sort of from a melee, got a 3-game ban. And it's been doubled to 6 because when they looked at the video, they saw another offence. So they basically gave him 2 red cards for the price of 1. So and he's a key player for Mansfield. So it's all going wrong. They're out of form, out of confidence. There's no confidence. And they're up against maybe the most confident side in League 2 at the moment, Rochdale, who I didn't really fancy to pull up trees this season. But under Robbie Stockdale, they're looking really good. Playing some good football. They've won 3 and drawn 1 of their last 4. They're 4th highest scorers. They've beaten some good teams: Northampton, Port Vale, Tranmere. Got some good players that are in form: Alex Newby, Jake Beasley. Just 2 of them. So Rochdale for me are a bit of a surprise package, and they will go there and they will attack them, no doubt about that. And when you attack a side that's low on confidence and short of defensive personnel, it screams possible upset. So for me, they shouldn't really be the outsiders. They are. I looked at plus half a goal, which was still just over 1.7. So that's backable. But for the better price, plus a quarter, even money. Rochdale at Mansfield.
Yeah, like the angle. Mark, it's been a while since we've done a Norwegian goals bet, but they used to be very good to us. If I remember about 1.5 years, 2 years ago, even pre-COVID, they were very good to us. What's the angle here? Because when you said this to me, Norwegian, both teams have scored double. There's only one person in the world would ever give me this bet, and it's Mark.
Look, everyone likes a bit of fun with goals and backing a couple of multiples, and it's been a while since we've kind of delved into any sort of multiples. And Norway's season is about 60% through. There's a really fascinating title race at the top between Molde and the defending champions Bodo, just 1 point between them. Actually, the top 6 is only separated by 5 points, so it's really quite interesting. The league is averaging 3.1 goals. 60% of matches have gone over 2.5. 60% have seen both teams scoring, and this weekend we've got 2 really interesting fixtures. Molde and Bodo both go away in tricky-looking ties to Vålerenga and Viking. I'm backing both teams to score in both of those games, which comes in at around 2.1 when doubled. I won't go too heavy on the numbers because I know it can be quite boring just listening to figures being reeled off. But Viking's games are averaging 3.89 goals. Molde's 3.72. They're the top 2 figures in the league. Both of those 2 teams are playing in different matches involved in our double. Both Vålerenga and Viking have seen both teams scoring in 15 of their 18 league games. And BTTS has banked in all 9 of Vålerenga's home games and 8 of 9 Vikings as well. Combined, they've scored in 17 of those 18 home games and kept 0 clean sheets. And they're playing obviously the top 2 in the division. Bodo and Mulder both managed just 2 clean sheets on the road so far this season. And if you look at XG, the 4 teams combined have all seen an average of at least 2.8 XG per game in their domestic matches, all ranked inside the top 5 for non-penalty XG generated, shots in the box, big chances created, etc., and so on. So, yeah, Norway teams tend to take a front foot approach, and that's especially the case with these 4 teams. So, yeah, it should be good fun. 5 p.m. on Sunday. So both teams have scored double. Vålerenga against Molde and Viking against Bodo.
Yeah, Adrian Clarke, we better find an illegal stream to download now. We're going to be covering this on BT or Skype. But no, in fairness, we used to have some great fun with those ones. You can remember those.
I love it.
A lot of winners. Yeah.
Let's look into. We need to delve into more divisions. I think. Yeah, we'll get Mark working.
Don't encourage him. Don't encourage him. We'll be doing the Turkish second division, mate. If we go this way. Wait out for O'Haire. Let's do a quick recap before we get the best bets from the Premier League slate. We have Chelsea to win and under 3.5. That old chestnut that has done us well in the past, 2.48. Manchester United to win and over 2.5, 2.64. In the Leicester Brighton, although it's a kind of a game that we found challenging, of course, we've locked in two bets at 3.25. We're back in the draw, and Leicester draw no bet, which appears in site at Matchbook.com is Leicester minus 0.0 at 2.0 even money, and both teams to score. Burnley Arsenal currently at 1.92. From the other divisions, then from the EFL, Fulham and Reading over 2.5 is 1.77, and Rochdale plus a quarter of a goal at 2.0 at Mansfield or Adrian's picks, and Celtic minus 3/4 of a goal at 1.73. And I'm not going to repeat out those 4 Norwegian teams because I can only remember 1 or 2 of them. And that's Mark's Norwegian BTS double comes in about 2.1. Adrian Clarke, your best bet for the weekend. Where does it come from?
Yeah, I kind of swayed from one to another. I was thinking of Chelsea. I love the Chelsea in under 3.5. But I think my strongest argument here today has been on the Fulham Reading game. I struggle to see how Reading cannot concede at least 3 goals in this game, and they're probably worth one themselves. So yeah, Fulham versus Reading over 2.5 goals, please.
Would you put anyone off over maybe backing over 3.5 as well if you're looking for a bigger price?
I don't know. I mean, Reading. Yeah, right. If you're going to do over 3.5, do it in a Reading game. Maybe do it in a Fulham Reading game. Yeah, but I personally won't. But there you go.
Yeah, let's not get greedy. Over 2.5 is plenty price there. 1.77. Mark, your best bet?
Celtic. I think the market is wrong at the moment, and I think it might well correct itself before Sunday. But in the next 24 hours, there's an opportunity to get Celtic on side at value prices and value lines.
Yeah. Up the boys in that one. Yeah, like it. Market hasn't really adjusted, as we said. But thanks to Adrian. But thanks to Mark. Another one in the books, guys. A lot of fun. Don't forget, check out insights.matchbook.com for details of that sign-up offer and obviously the recap of those bets, which is obviously way more important as well. Get your money down. Good weekend, lads. Good Joe. Really enjoyed it. We'll be back again next Thursday. Until then, bye for now.